councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Okay, we are live right now with a new Anonymous Bites Back episode. We have many different new things to discuss. Situation in Russia, to the opposition leader. We have situation in Taiwan to discuss. Larry King died. We will talk about controlled opposition media, infiltrating activist communities, all kinds of stuff, and of course the usual subjects like censorship and Assange case. We will discuss everything again for you guys, so make sure you share this around. That's what we depend on, and enjoy it. And we can just start, okay, and then I can just share this around a bit.
Yeah, I just posted it as well on Twitter, but you know they have me like censored, so
okay.
I'm scrolling through here to find information. Hold on. All right. So this week we had two key things that China did, and China actually authorized the Coast Guard to fire on foreign vessels if necessary yesterday, and on Friday they passed the law, and this explicitly allows the Coast Guard to fire on any foreign ships that cross over China's South Chinese Sea, and this is huge because for the past year on the show we've been discussing that China has been going back and forth with the U.S. on kind of tussles in the South Chinese Sea, and before Trump left office, and I think it was October, we saw a situation where the U.S. and China both crossed each other's paths in the South China Sea, and they both fired off missiles into the air to scare each other. Now China is saying, if you cross our line, we are going to fire at your ships. That's huge. That's like war.
Yeah, if they would actually fire, that's war, of course. Yeah.
That's basically a declaration of war if they fire. But they're now saying that they authorize their Coast Guard to fire on foreign vessels if needed. Now, this serves two purposes, not only just the U.S., but also Taiwan, which Taiwan is an island, right? Now, what happened today and is kind of way more escalated is Taiwan actually recorded 13 incursions by Chinese Air Force in a single day. And they said that they had flew 8 fighter jets. All right, let me just get this 100% correct. Hold on. Just because I want to get... Alright. So they said that they flew... Okay, so they said that they had scrambled a total of 26 jets between 10 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. to counter 7 incursions, which all occurred in the southwest corner of Adis. And they said that they had flew 4 J-16 fighter jets and 8 H-6K bombers over Taiwan. Now that's huge. That's, again...
This is clear intimidation, right? I mean, it's clear intimidation.
Right. Now, what a lot of people don't know is behind the scenes, starting under Trump, the U.S. has been trying to broker trade deals with China, or not China, with Taiwan. And China has threatened back, saying, if you recognize Taiwan and you go against that one China policy, they have threatened war. So these are some of the things that have been going on the past couple months. I actually have one of my old articles that I want to go through here.
Okay, I'm just sharing this real quick, just to give some information about what it's actually about.
Alright, so back in October of 2020, China actually deployed hypersonic missiles across Taiwan. Further than that, they had released multiple propaganda videos, one showing what looked like the invasion of Taiwan, and the other that it looked like they were bombing the Guam U.S. military base. Now, again, this is in October of last year. We're in January. That's only 2 months. I'm sorry. No, 3 months. I forgot November. Oops. Anyway, so it's not a long time. And the videos that they released were very detailed, showing the bombing of the Guam base and showing an invasion of Taiwan. And further than that, Chinese President Xi had told in October the Chinese Marines to prepare for war. And a lot of people are missing everything that's going on over there because it's huge. Over the summer, a Chinese diplomat and Taiwan government employee fought at a Fiji celebrating Taiwan's National Day. And that confrontation occurred on the 8th of October, with each country kind of disputing the other's claim of how the fight transpired. Now, that might not seem big to us, but it was big to them at the time. So the Chinese and Taiwan kind of tensions have been high ever since that incident. Now, they had another incident that escalated the tensions even higher, and this happened in October as well. A confession of a Taiwanese businessman who was held captive by Chinese authorities. He basically confessed to espionage charges and spying on China for the Taiwanese government. This whole situation has been escalating. But even more so, going back to September, we had a incident where China sent 18 fighter jets and bombers into the Taiwan Strait, and at the same time, a military official in Beijing said, warning to Taiwan and the United States about their increasing political and military cooperation within the region. And that's not the first warning that the U.S. has gotten in regards to that. That incursion that happened was actually during a meeting with a diplomatic official, Keith Krosh, who at the time was the Undersecretary of State for Economic, Energy, and Environmental Affairs. Now, this is what the senior Chinese military official said. Those who play with fire are bound to get burned. And he said, warning the United States and Taiwan against what he called collusion at the time. This meeting that happened with Keith Krosh, right? There was a meeting prior to that in July, August with the Health and Human Secretary's Services, Alex Azar, and upon Azar's visit to Taiwan, Chinese state media angrily threatened to retaliate by holding live-fire military missile drills near Taiwan and Guam. Okay, are you following on, and what's actually going on here? Because it's massive. This is probably one of the biggest stories that I've been following in a long time, because this is essentially the moves that are leading to World War III, and I don't say that lightly. Around the same month that Azar, last September, Chinese aircraft crossed what's known as the midline and entered Taiwan's air defense identification zone. This prompted Taiwan to scramble jets and intercept them, according to the Defense Ministry's Twitter account, which is the Taiwan Defense Ministry account. So, the Taiwanese president at the time also called China a threat to the entire region, saying, the Taiwan region is an inalienable part of China's territory. No, that's something. Hold on, that's I mix things up. That's the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson. The Taiwanese president Tsai Ing-wen said that China was a threat to the region, and Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin said that Taiwan region is an inalienable part of China's territory. He said the so-called midline of the Taiwan Strait does not exist. So they're saying that they don't have sovereignty, just as they did with Hong Kong, as we saw. Now, the Taiwan Defense Ministry on Twitter said that China has threatened or entered into Taiwan's airspace 46 times in just 9 days in October. Okay? So this whole thing has been escalating since last summer. It started really picking up over the summer.
Okay, and why do you think it's happening right now? Just shortly after U.S. elections and things.
Right. Well, it's a sign, or sending a signal to Biden. Um, that's what we're witnessing here. Is China sending a signal to Biden and telling him basically back off of the Taiwan diplomacy, trade talks, and everything that Trump was organizing at the time. And also, prior to Biden even getting into presidency, earlier this month, Trump signed a whole bunch of executive orders against China, and he had put out a lot of different sanctions against China.
Yeah. Okay, well, we already predicted that the second Biden would get to power, there would be these skirmishes and this risk of war. Like, literally, we said it on the show, like, look, wait and see. Biden gonna get to power and starts. It's also a fear thing, right? People need to be scared full time.
Well, it's not really scared. I mean, it's legitimately happening. I mean, they pushed for relations with Taiwan. They know what this is going to cause. They've been warned by China. They just keep pushing further and further. If they don't back out of this, it's going to be war. There's no doubt about it. China has threatened the U.S. multiple times, saying this. Now we have a directive that has been put into law by China, saying that their Coast Guard can fire on any foreign vessels. That's huge.
Yeah. So we learned that like last year there was like this coalition between I think it was India, Australia, and the USA. I forgot this fourth country, but there was a fourth country involved too. They were creating like this coalition as a navy to bring back like to put like firepower against the Chinese navy, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because there were these disputes about the what they call the South China Sea, right? The waters in front of China. But that is an area they claim, like I think it'd be in between China and Taiwan or something.
Yeah. It's a difficult situation. There's a lot of pieces here.
Yeah. In the chat is really busy. People say, one person says scared and their minds on war, COVID, economy, everything in turmoil for the Great Reset. Another one says we have to be careful of upcoming false events. It could be globally.
Well, here, let me just comment on that. Yeah, I'm not saying that there hasn't been false flag events. I mean, I'm one of the people who reports on it more than anybody else. This is different. This is China and the U.S. in a geopolitical situation. And honestly, you could say that it escalated since Hong Kong. Like, we supported the Hong Kong activists and everything, but at the same time, guess who was supporting the Hong Kong activist? CIA. And I mean, what the CIA does is they just support a uprising in a country. They look for destabilization, and they support it. Like, that's all they do. And you can argue like all you want that we supported the CIA. That's not really the reality of the situation. We supported the Hong Kong activists who are fighting against China's authoritarianism, and we supported them having their own sovereignty. And the way that these activists were being treated, we can't just stand back. So I mean, it's a difficult situation.
Yeah, of course. Of course, and you're totally right. I mean, a legitimate uprising, and when it benefits a country in another area, that country is going to do attempts to make it bigger and to support them. But that doesn't mean the original uprising is not legitimate. I mean, the Hong Kong activists, Hong Kong is being threatened by China to be fully embedded in a super hostile a system of social credit score system, lack of human rights. This is what you have in China, and Hong Kong has always been kind of like an autonomous region where they still had like their own little rules and their own things. And even though officially it was already part of China, handed over by the UK, they were autonomous, considered autonomous. So, and these people don't want to lose the rights they have. They didn't want to live under a Chinese system. So, yeah, of course they're going to protest. And then, okay, when the USA jumps on it and says like, yeah, we support these protesters, fuck China. Yeah, then it doesn't mean that that the USA is behind these people. I mean, they didn't start it. I mean, to be honest, China started it by trying to take these people in and trying to conquer these people with their PLA, the People Liberation Army. So these people just want to keep their rights. Yeah, very easy. Are you still here, or? Okay, he's right back getting food. Yeah, you guys can just comment in the chat, whatever. I'll just talk about that. I think you're right, April. It is a huge psychological effect when they talk about war. It creates fear with people, and fear creates this justification to create more, or to get more money from the people, or to get more restrictions, saying like, we keep you safe, we have this safety system, and we have to hunt the dangerous terrorists which are now in everywhere because we're at war, right? So that is what they do.
Alright, so I heard the comment about war creating fear. Yes, it's true.
Yeah, I give my opinion. This is what always happens. I'm not saying these wars aren't legitimate, because that happens too, of course. Yeah.
Well, yeah, right. Well, that's the thing. I mean, the U.S. has created this perception that, essentially, with the whole war on terror thing, obviously that's all bullshit, and we just invaded the Middle East, right? The last real war that we have been in was a Cold War with Russia, right?
Yeah, you could argue if that even was real, by the way, but yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, you can argue if that was even real, because I know during the Cold War the oil and the gas never stopped flowing from Russia to the NATO countries. Just saying. I mean, they had all the oil and gas pipelines, and no NATO tank would ever be even driving around without the Russian oil. So yeah, I doubt that was even real. It is also a big thing, a big fear thing. But yeah, proxy wars too, right? Proxy wars.
We know that John F. Kennedy was communicating with his other, I can't remember who was in power at the time in Russia. Can you fill me in? Do you know who was in power at the time in Russia?
Yeah, you mean at the end it was Gorbachev, right? But it was also it started under Stalin, right? Stalin, after the World War II, conquered most of Europe from the Nazis, so it became very powerful.
It was Gorbachev. Yeah. So we know JFK was talking to Gorbachev the entire time. So even though we were in a Cold War, where we were producing weaponry and producing nuclear weapons, none of those were ever used. So, I mean, honestly, arguing, the U.S. hasn't been in a real war until back to World War II. And in that sense, I mean, the World War II, both the Allies and Axis were funded by Wall Street and funded by a lot of these big companies who funded the Nazis, and then they also turned around and funded the Allies.
Yeah.
So,
Look at U.S. Standard Oil of Rockefeller. They owned the patents to the kerosene back then. That literally the German Luftwaffe was flying on U.S. Standard Oil. So yeah. And that was up to till 1942 when they officially had like a ban against doing that. And then even then, they did illegal shipments from Argentina and stuff to the Nazis. So yeah. Are you still here, or are we eating?
I'm here just chilling.
Okay. Yeah. Google GU evacuation, which is Jacksonville University. G4S. It's weird. G4S we also have here in Europe. Strange. Okay. Yeah, so there's a little to think for both, but all wars, of course, create fear, but it doesn't have to be the main reason to have fear. It is a second thing too, sometimes. Well, you had in the Vietnam War. I mean, America was never attacked by Vietnam. It just literally went in there, and it was this this weird false flag event of them supposedly taking out a U.S. Marine ship, right? And the U.S. went into war, but had nothing to do in Southeast Asia. It was not their garden, right? So.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. For the rest, it's all like wars for territory, wars for resources, but I think the U.S. coastline has never been at risk since World War II. I mean, Hitler had a U.S. invasion plan. That's true. So, yeah. And Hitler did agents of the Nazis even sabotaged and bombed U.S. Marine ships in U.S. harbors. Right. So, took out a lot of ships in U.S. harbors.
Right. Now, what's arguable there is that about the elitists who funded the Nazis early on, right? Were they aware of basically Hitler's rise, like how, or was it just he was a very charismatic individual and they were funding him? It is important to ask that question. I don't think a lot of them were knowledgeable. I think some of them obviously were. Like you have Walt Disney. Walt Disney produced propaganda cartoons for the Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he had to have known a lot more than he let on about.
I happened to post about that recently too. Walt Disney actually. Okay, so Walt Disney was the one who literally invited Leni Riefenstahl over to discuss making films and stuff together. And Leni Riefenstahl was the head propaganda video maker of the Nazis. She made all the propaganda. And
right.
I know that a famous cartoonist, the main cartoonist of Disney, said that Walt Disney and the main lawyer of Disney were present at almost all the Deutsche Bund meetings, which was the American Nazi Party in America. They were always there. That's what the head cartoonist of Disney says.
Right, and that's important too. You just brought that up because there was an American Nazi Party. That's very important.
Yeah, it was definitely real, and it even had a group of, I think it was 400,000 aggressive Nazi goons who were already preparing to take over the U.S. government by force. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and in Germany itself, yeah, well, these industrialists, you had like a famous industrialist, Fritz Thyssen, you say. He was like the biggest German steel maker, and he was an early supporter of the Nazi party, and he funded a lot of shit of the Nazis, and there are also connections with the USA, because he was doing a lot of business with the USA.
Well, some say the infamous business plot here in the U.S. was actually the companies involved in the American Nazi Party trying to overthrow the U.S. I haven't seen like definitive evidence on that, but I have heard it from some people that I consider to be knowledgeable on that type of situation. So I just thought I would throw that out there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. And yeah, there was a lot to economic means, like the US it's a huge capitalist country, so to speak, so economic means are very important there. And you had the connections with the Prescott Bush and the what is that, America Holland line, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And Prescott Bush was involved with that business plot. That's why some people say that it was the American Nazi Party that was trying to overthrow FDR's government. And that was in...
The interesting thing is, The Guardian even has an article about this. And The Guardian says that even now, more than 60 years later, this is from 2004, so it's now 75 years later, that there was actually a civil lawsuit for damages from against the Bush family by two former slave laborers who worked at Auschwitz for this. So that Guardian article says, well, there's no suggestion that Prescott Bush was sympathetic to the Nazi cause. Documents reveal that the firm he worked for, Brown Brothers Harriman, BBH, acted as a US base for the German industrialist Fritz Thyssen, who helped finance Hitler in the 1930s, before falling out with him at the end of the decade. Not entirely true, by the way, that end of the decade either, because in 1941 he still funded Hitler, but the Guardian do a little bit more research, because that you can literally find on Wikipedia. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and it's very interesting in regards to the business plot that Prescott Bush also comes up. And a lot of people don't know this. It's important to note that Hitler did not found the Nazi Party. The Nazi Party was actually founded by Anton Drexler, and this was in the 1920s. And the Nazi Party spread from the 1920s to, when it was ceased operations all the way until 1945. And, today it goes under neo-Nazi. But to think that the American Nazi Party might have tried to overthrow the U.S. in the 1930s is not that crazy.
No.
Because there was a political conspiracy that was pushed through various big bankers and big businesses that wanted to overthrow FDR's government at the time. and that was in 1933. Now, when did Hitler come to rise to power?
Well, okay, so officially it was like I think 1928 when they had like this big event at the beer halls in Berlin. I think that was, and they had like a big speech, and then they were all arrested. Hitler was thrown into jail, and then wrote Mein Kampf while being in jail. It was actually like a workers' manifesto back then against big finance, and you deal with big finance. That part, there is something to say for that. Big finance did cause a lot of damage in Europe, and that was used by them to gain power. And of course, when they got to power, they abused everything, right? So that's the thing.
Right, but when did he actually become? When did he get a political position of power, I should say?
I think it was 1932. Let me just confirm
Correct.
that real fast. I think 1932, yeah.
Yeah, it was like 1932, 1933. So to think that there was an American...
Yeah, you're right. This is 1933. Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany in 1933, following a series of electoral victories by the Nazi Party.
Right, and then the business plot here in the U.S. took place in 1933. And a lot of people don't know this. A lot of the Nazi... well, we discussed this before. A lot of the Nazi eugenics stuff actually started over here in the U.S.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's even more scary.
The 1920s.
Yeah, I think there were actually, what was it, 7 or 11 American states that actually legalized forced sterilization programs against certain people.
Right.
It's really scary, definitely. Yeah, but that's how it started with the whole eugenics things. Like, yeah, they would force sterilization against like certain minorities, against people with certain diseases. That's what they would do.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and it's long before that the focus switched to to Jewish people, to gypsies.
Well, that's a misconception too. It wasn't just Jewish people and gypsies. It was anybody who wasn't German. Anybody who wasn't blonde-haired, blue-eyed.
Yeah, you're right. There was over 6 million communists.
Who wasn't a Nordic German. And no, wait, no, not Nordic. I mean Aryan. Oh shit.
Yeah, you're right. They, everyone like above a certain height and having like blue eyes, blonde hair. Yeah, that was their ultimate thing, right? That you can debate that too, because he sent all those guys into war and pretty much every one of those guys died. So yeah. So that's something to debate too. I mean, like you can say like, yeah, was he really in support of those people while he sends all those people to the battlefield and they all pretty much died. I mean, millions died in the battle.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I just look at the end result, right? I mean, I know the stories and all these things, but like the end result, yeah, everyone gets shot. Was that like a part of the great plan in the end too? Yeah. Hey, there's someone who's asking like, were you cutting off or were you just being silent? Or?
No, I was about to say, getting back to the whole thing going on in China, you can make, you can contrast and compare things that are going on with Nazi Germany and China. With the whole thing going on with the Uyghurs, you can definitely make that argument. And in regards to surveillance that rised up in China, and the social credit system and all that. Not looking good for history. And China wants to spread that technology across, and they actually sold that technology, the social credit system tech, to Venezuela.
Okay. So you're saying that the Chinese sold tech to Venezuela?
The social credit system stuff, yes.
Oh yeah.
Now, they are also selling it to other countries as well. They tried to sell it to the Philippines. That was denied, as far as I know. As far as my information goes on that. They did sell it to Venezuela. They accepted it. And they paid for it. So that social credit system stuff is going to spread to Venezuela. The social credit system stuff here in the U.S. is probably going to start soon. It's going to be connected more so to credit history and loans and stuff like that. It's not going to be so much as political yet. But once that system is ready, it can be transferred into a political basis. We are moving into a very, very dangerous time in history with all the surveillance technology advancements, artificial intelligence surpassing humans. Now scientists are admitting that if a AI goes haywire and wants to have destructive thoughts, that we can do nothing about it. Like, oh man, there's some big things that have happened actually within the past couple weeks in regards to AI and stuff like that. They're now starting, like I said, they now admitted that they can't do anything if AI wants to destroy the human race.
Yeah, I think we're doing it pretty much on our own, right? What China is doing, we're doing on our own, in our own way. So yeah, sure, but we're slowly introducing it and getting people accustomed to it. So yeah.
Yeah. But in regards to China and Taiwan and Hong Kong and the U.S., it is comparable to Nazi Germany because of there's been a lot of legitimate information coming out of China where they are torturing the Uyghurs. In some cases, they have them in re-education camps. And in a lot of these cases, some of these people are not coming out alive out of those camps, which is similar to some of the claims that the Falun Gong have said over the years. Now, I know we had somebody from the Falun Gong on here before. There is a lot of claims that the Falun Gong put out there that are bizarre and do not, yeah. But in regards to the stuff about concentration camps and stuff like that in China, I think all that's legitimate information.
Yeah, regardless of the Falun Gong, they might exaggerate something, but that's very weird to say. Some really bad stuff really did go on there with the Falun Gong, and the Chinese went down on them hard, and it was a huge. Okay, so not. Some call it like a cult or whatever, but it was actually a meditation movement of like, what was it, 86 million members at some point in China. And the Chinese government considers it a real threat at that point, and yeah, they pretty much destabilized and destroyed it, pretty much. Yeah. But with the Uyghurs, yeah, they have re-education camps, and this is like in this area that's considered kind of like a more autonomous area where a lot of Uyghur Muslims live, and yeah, when there is no 100% loyalty to the CCP, then you get this kind of stuff, and they have their propaganda machine running full time, so it's very hard to push through that. These people are very good.
Right. And again, comparison there to Nazi Germany propaganda.
Yeah, so, definitely. But you can always say with the rise of Mao killed like 60 million people, more than Hitler killed.
Right. Right. And it kind of feels, in some sense, it kind of feels like China is becoming that power in our generation's time, that is similar to what we saw with Mao and what we saw with Hitler.
Yeah, and and the Stalinist empire too. With we all know about the Holocaust, but not everyone knows about the Holodomor, which is a similar thing that happened in Russia. I mean, search for Holodomor and you find all kinds of starving kids. They pretty much starved everyone to death in camps. And you're talking about thousands and thousands of gulag work camps where people were starving. Now you can say that is done on purpose. You can say because there's just a food shortage. But if there's a food shortage, then you empty these camps and you set them all free. Simple. You don't put them locked up without food. That's not how it works. So yeah, I would say like they were starved to death, these people, and some would say like this is even a more horrible death than the people faced in German death camps. To be honest.
Right. And like kind of like what we're seeing now, between China, the U.S., Hong Kong, Taiwan, the Philippines. It kind of seems that something's ready to break. Like,
see, Agatha Johanna says that Stalin killed or got killed over 60 million people, from which at least 20 million died from starvation. Just saying.
Right, we've had a lot of tyrants in history, and a lot of people thought Trump was the U.S. tyrant. He didn't start a war. That's one thing he didn't do. Even though he had aggressed wars and put us into very bad situations where it kind of seemed like he was going to. What's going on with China now, and kind of what Trump left, in my opinion, is ready for hot conflict. And if the U.S. taunts China, like they've been doing, sailing naval ships through the South China Sea, there could be a situation that happens quite quickly, and we would end up in war overnight. Then the other flip side of that is that prior to all of this stuff now going on with China, I told you guys probably about 1 or 2 weeks ago, I think it was, Mark, where I said that there was a secret, quote unquote, secret training that took place in the Philippines between the U.S. military and the Philippines military. So I don't know if they're thinking like China's going to invade the Philippines or like what's going on. But China also threatened the Philippines not too long ago, back in either November or December. So the tensions have been picking up with China and the Philippines as well. And then all of a sudden the Philippines bent a knee to China, and then after that there was drills in the Philippines with the U.S. military, or U.S. Marines, I'm sorry, and Philippines military. So, for the longest period of time, the Philippines and there's another country, I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, they've been fighting with China over ownership of the South China Sea and islands surrounding it. Right? So they've been fighting over this territory for, back to, I think it goes back to Obama in 2010. pretty sure.
Yeah.
You remember that, right? You remembered all the stuff about the Philippines and China and the South China Sea, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting to see that now it comes up again with Obama's former vice president. So, yeah. Our chat's interesting again tonight. There's also someone who wants to be a mermaid. Uh, yeah, again, yeah, American troops will be sent everywhere but not home.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. It's a little dark movie though, Ariel, Little Mermaid, just saying, it's a little dark.
Oh yeah.
Just look into the background in that movie. I know it's a favorite movie of some people, but yeah. Now we have someone in the chat, a lady in the chat who feels like it's the perfect movie, but yeah, Disney movies are usually very dark. And Aladdin is originally a rape movie from 1001 Tales in Saudi Arabia.
Aladdin, you mean?
Aladdin, yeah, so we call it Aladdin in my country. Aladdin.
Cool.
Yeah, that's all about. Go ahead.
Well, when we're talking about Disney movies, you know, it seems like they always kill the parent in these Disney movies. It seems like the parent of the main character always dies in some way. Like you think of like Bambi, the Lion King, you know, like all these. It's interesting, and that's a psychological thing that they do.
Yeah, yeah. It's an orphan thing, and think about the Peter Pan story, for example, which is to me looks like kind of like a pedophile story. Yeah, if you think about all these things, and you have, of course, in Aladdin, you have also the jinn giving wishes, which in this movie is a good thing, but in our original religion, when the jinn grants wishes, you condemn yourself to like eternal damnation and stuff, right? So it is it is always kind of weird. And you have Alice in Wonderland, which is also a famous pedophile story based on
Carol.
Yeah, Lewis Carroll was a pedophile. He was in love with this 14-year-old neighbor girl Alice, and he made like nude pictures of her, and yeah, these nude pictures even exist online. You can just on Google images. They made like pictures, and they're hanging in like museums and everything. So yeah. What about Snow White? I don't know. I can't find really the thing in that, but awful too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Disney. This is like really awful in that sense. Yeah, and the castles are also based on the castle Neuschwanstein. I posted about that a few days ago too. The Castle of Sleeping Beauty is based on that one, on the Neuschwanstein Castle, and the Neuschwanstein Castle, which is in Bavaria in Germany, was the headquarters of the German group that stole all the artwork of the conquered countries. That was their headquarters. Just so you're aware. Which is weird, right, considering Disney is a whole art thing, and it actually actually steals these old stories, abuses them.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I called Ludwig's Castle, Mad Mom. If you search for it, there was an old leader in Germany super long ago. He was called Ludwig, and he had that castle built for him, and but Hitler took it as a headquarters for the art thievery group. I happen to remember this because I wrote about this a few days ago, otherwise I would never know this. Well, here's something you might know more about, okay? Because Hitler and the Catholic religion and stuff, that they used Catholic religion back then.
So again?
Well, I thought maybe you know more about that. That like the Nazis, when they came to power, they used this, like the Catholic religion to get all the support. You said they were Catholics.
Yeah. Okay. They were. The Nazis were connected to also the Black Pope and the Vatican. A lot of people don't know that, but they used Catholic religion as a way to hide their atrocities. In reality, they were actually occultist, and they believed the higher-ranking Nazi SS believed in what they called the Black Sun God, and Hitler kind of studied under Maria Ostrich and the Vril and Fool Society. He was a very big person when it came to like mythical artifacts and collecting things that he believed gave him power. So he was always looking out for the Sphere Longinus and the crystal skulls and all these other like mythical artifacts that believed that, and the Ark of the Covenant as well, that believed that these gave him power. So he was on search for these artifacts, and he had actually sent out teams across the world to look for these artifacts. A lot of people don't know that the Nazi SS were actually looking for these artifacts throughout the time period that Nazi Germany was around. And during all of this invasion and everything going on, they were also out there in expeditions looking for these artifacts for Hitler. And some speculate that's the reason he went to Antarctica as well, is to look for the Ark of the Covenant. So
people say like they got much from crashed UFOs and stuff. I don't know, but they were obsessed with finding knowledge and technology that is not known to the. So every chance they got, and so looking in old religious books, looking in old myths and stuff, they went into all of that stuff, and that has this very practical. You want to try everything to get better knowledge and
Shangri-La.
Yeah,
they were looking for Shangri-La as well. Even though that Shangri-La is believed to be a entrance into demonic, they were searching for it.
Yeah.
Again, he was searching for anything that he believed would give him power.
Well, there exists a 1942 telegram sent by the Waffen-SS to Hitler saying they built his Shangri-La. That telegram actually exists. So, whatever meant.
A telegram exists saying that they found Shangri-La.
They built his. It literally says that they built his Shangri-La, which is an untakeable fortress or something. That's what historians say that means for them, but I'm not sure. But you're saying portal to hell and everything. Yeah, that's where these stories come from, like the caves into the earth and stuff, right? And the hollow earth theory too.
Yeah, right. And they were at the time they were looking for Shangri-La and other places as well. I mean,
they were pretty obsessed with it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He was very obsessed with it.
Well, yeah, it was already early 30s that they threw these flags out on the Antarctica, claiming this area called Neuschwabenland, named after Schwabenland in Germany.
Right.
We have that story
And,
about Operation High Jump after the war from the Americans when they sent like troops to that area.
Well, they didn't only send troops to the area; they sent scientists, geologists, a whole bunch of people. That just didn't make sense. Whatever they found, they wanted people there that could examine it. I don't know what they found. I have no idea, but that goes into the whole story of Admiral Byrd and everything. And you know, that whole entire story. But I mean, who knows what they found? I do know that there are military bases in Antarctica, and they cover a certain range of land, and you can't go there. So I do know that.
Yeah, it's off limits. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also blacked out on a map as well.
North Pole too, by the way. There's also a huge part blacked out. Yeah.
Yeah, on Google Maps.
Yeah, it's just like a huge black circle. There's nothing. So they say like, yeah, it has to do with satellites not being able to go there, but I doubt that, because you can always send like a plane over to make these shots. We know how Google is, so don't lie about that kind of stuff.
I mean, if they think that a satellite can't go over there, I'm pretty sure I could send a drone.
Yeah, well, if they can send these Google cars, the cars into like every single spot in every city, then they also can send like a plane over the North Pole. There's no problem. So it's just blacked out on purpose, and we can safely say that. This is like a military research. Maybe it's just like very very logical, and it's not
I'm
like.
surprised. I'm surprised NSEC, who hacked NASA and had control of drones. I'm surprised they didn't fly drones over there. I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah, that guy, by the way, died like last month. One of these ANZAC guys.
Oh fuck! Really? Who?
Yeah, I made a post about that because it was actually Siege who messaged me about that.
Oh fuck, man! Who was it?
Let me check it out now.
Yeah, for real, because I knew most of those guys.
Cysac 666, John Damdo 666.
Oh my god, dude, for real? I talked to that guy. Oh my god.
December 6th, we got word that he died. So.
How do we know?
No, I could go back in my DMs with Siege, but I'm not sure if I should. Yeah, okay, I will do it.
I don't do it on air. I'm curious myself. I knew the fucking guy. Yeah, that sucks, man. Yeah, he was a good guy. I had a lot of interesting conversations with him. But yeah, all those guys.
Oh, he died from an accident. Actually, December 4. He died from an accident. Yeah, he was a comrade through and on, down to the core. Struggled with some things over the years, but he was a brother always. So it was an accident.
Drug accident?
I'm not sure. Yeah, that's Cysac 666.
Yeah, I know exactly who the fuck it is.
Yeah, I mean, like in the chat they're asking who is it on ANZAC. Yeah, okay, so there's a crew that are hacked into drones and stuff in the past. NASA, all kind of big stuff back then.
Yeah, huge stuff. Fucking one of the biggest hacks in a long fucking time. Like, big hack. And anyway, they had a whole bunch of data on NASA, and they leaked some of it. And in the documents, it kind of shows that they have a chemtrail program. And it's undeniable. Like, they have an aerosol program. They're spraying something. Don't know what the fuck they're spraying, but it's basically like they're spraying chemical trails. So I mean, it's a chemtrail program. they had gained access to a whole bunch of drones, and they had spied and had been able to control the drones, and they flew one of the drones into into the ocean, I believe. it cost the government like fucking shit ton of money.
Yeah. So just a disclaimer. I said in the chat too, but it is for the Periscope listeners too. Like that, even though we stay legal on this show, otherwise we get raided or taken off air. We do always amplify all the anons, and we get a lot of DMs from anons who like need stories told and stuff, and that's perfectly legal for us to do. So that is just a disclaimer.
Yeah, as long as yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's important to say that when you mention people like Siege and Anons Hack and these things. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean one of the guys is dead, so I mean they can't really fucking do anything anyway. But yeah, I talked to that guy. He was down to earth. He was a good guy, and yeah, that's shocking that he died. I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad, right? And especially like sometimes you lose track of certain people for a while. They kind of like disappear, and then suddenly you get messages that people pass away, and like you haven't talked to them, super
Well, I mean, in my case, I mean, I had my whole entire fucking account destroyed. So I mean, I didn't lose track of anybody. I basically lost their ats.
Yeah, in your case, yeah, you lost your entire account, like a huge account. So yeah.
Yeah, a lot of old friends and shit from Occupy and over the years, and I don't remember everybody. I try, but I don't remember everybody. Like, I know your names, I just don't know your ats.
No, exactly. Hey, if you're listening on Periscope, most people are in the YouTube chat, so you can just jump over there too and just say whatever you want. I see that we have some viewers on Periscope. Periscope works better on Twitter promotion, but actually, lately the YouTube chat is pretty nice. There's a lot of people in it, so you can just jump over there and join their chat in that sense. Yeah. Would not advise that normally, but we know Periscope goes out of the air in like 2 or 3 months, so yeah. Not happy with that. But
Well, aren't they switching to like it's going to be like Twitter Live or something?
yeah, I don't know how that works. Hope we can stream to there too. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's what they're doing. They're just phasing out Periscope.
So I had a friend. He says he's on vk.com, and he says like there are like 600 million users on VK. Which, if that is true, is bigger than Twitter in active users, I think. Not sure, but
But VK is all like basically Russians.
yeah,
Is there
he
really
says too.
600 million Russians?
Yeah, I don't know, but he says there are 600 million users. He says like yeah, a shitload of active Russians there. Plenty of anons too. Never heard to check it out if you're looking for new social media and just got banned at Fatbook.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different social medias out there that's going to be the problem, I think. Is having so many. Like, everybody's trying to be the go-to place, but not everybody has their technology up to point.
No.
Like you guys are starting your own. I have my own. Well, not my own, but like project that I've been working with for like fucking 4 years. So I mean, and then you got Gab. Parlor's basically dead. I mean, I haven't seen it. Hasn't come back, and I don't think they're gonna come back. To be honest, I think the damage that Annans did to it is far too much.
Yeah, that's pretty much entirely destroyed.
They leaked all their data. I mean, come on, like that's showing you guys you don't know how to store things.
Okay, so we have two other things. We also have to talk about Russia still, and we have to talk about Larry King dying. But Larry King dying, yeah, I mean you're obviously an American. We don't have to lie about that. People can hear it in your accent, so you can just talk about more about.
No.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Canadian, eh?
Oh yeah, Canadian. Yeah. Okay, I'm Canadian, but still, you know more about Larry King than I do. I never watched Larry King stuff. I don't.
Really?
I know about him, of course, but
I mean, he had some of the most iconic interviews. You never watched him.
yeah, I watched some stuff. Yeah, I'm just kidding about it. You just explain some about Larry King.
So, all right. So, a few weeks ago, it was reported that Larry King had COVID,
Oh yeah.
and it hasn't been announced yet that Larry King has died from COVID, but it's assumed. Because everybody who's been dying from COVID. And Larry King did a lot of iconic interviews over the years with more than 50,000 people. Like, he lived an incredible life, having the opportunity to interview so many people. And yeah, man, he had some of the greatest interviews, and his interviews were always on topic and fair and balanced. He let people talk, as opposed to some of these interviewers and reporters now who will just kind of not let people speak and just keep on speaking over them. Yeah, it's truly sad that Larry King is dead, but I mean, he was 80. I think he was like 87, 88 years old. So I mean, he was going to die eventually, but
87 it says.
Yeah, if he got taken out by COVID, I mean, that's just fucked. Like, that's a way to go, man. Like, but I believe he even spoke out for Assange. I'm pretty sure. Let me double check that, but I'm pretty sure.
I think so too, actually. Yeah. Oh, he was actually on. He was actually with Julian Assange in an episode. Don't you think?
Yes, that was on the Afghan war logs with Larry King. Yeah.
Huh. Oh, he wasn't too happy, Assange, it seems, in 2010.
He, during one interview, he had argued with Larry King in 2010. But I think recently, more so, Larry King spoke out on Assange.
Hey, so but Assange apparently. Okay, so Assange was on Larry King and everything went fine, but then he walked out. They thought, and then Larry King started about the rape allegations, but Assange still hurt him. So he said you should be ashamed of this stuff, and kind of like a fight, I think. But he brought him on, and that's a good thing.
Right.
I mean, not everyone does that, and yeah, that was pretty iconic then. And all these other big guests, yeah. So it doesn't say that he was died from COVID-19, but it is the last
No,
thing.
no, yeah, it doesn't say that. But he was admitted into the hospital with COVID.
Yeah. He has a good quote.
I just found the report. There it is, right there. Larry King hospitalized with COVID-19. Report says, and that was only on January 2nd. So only a few weeks later. So
Yeah.
it definitely kind of seems like he did, but they haven't confirmed. They haven't said anything.
Yeah, well, at that age, probably have a lot of other things too, and then combining it with the COVID thing is never a good thing, of course. Yeah, okay, but some are like perfectly healthy at that age. That's possible too. He had this quote saying, "I remind myself every morning, nothing I say this day will teach me anything. So if I'm going to learn, I must do it by listening." That's what he said. So a good quote.
Yeah, that's a very true quote. I mean, if you're always talking, and like especially when interviewing people, if you're always talking and you're not listening, then you're not going to learn anything from that person.
No, exactly.
Because you'll always be preoccupied on, thinking what you're going to say next.
So we have a Shaydog saying, "My dad is 86 and refuses the whole mask thing and not going out. He says something will take him out and he refuses to give up living because of it." Well, yeah, when you're 86, I mean, who's going to stop you at that point? I mean, you don't have to be scared of dying at that age. I mean, yeah. You probably lived a great life, 86. Have a lot of experiences. Living in this 2021 world, I doubt any of us will still reach that age. Maybe we will, but I doubt it. Cup2 says, "Well, listen here, good junior. Closed mouths don't get feed," is what I was taught.
What?
He says closed mouths don't get fed is what I was taught. So you have to open your mouth and demand it.
Well, I mean, it takes more than just your mouth to get fed. You have to actually put in work and work towards something.
Yeah. Thanks, Anonymous Global. Thanks for listening. He says great job. Yeah. Now we discussed about the vaccines, but if we say like don't take the vaccine or take the vaccine, we're going to be taken off air. You know, you guys know how it is now. It is 2021. You know this. So
You can't even. Yeah, we can't even mention it because of the AI, dude. Like shouldn't even have said that. I mean.
Yeah, AI will take us out. So we can't say anything about it. We can't confirm or deny if you have to take the vaccine or not. So. Well, we can say it is weird. Like, okay, honestly, so in 1960 they discovered the first coronavirus. So there are 7 now for humans. And since the 1960s, that coronavirus caused like a common cold and things. And they were never able to find a medicine against it. Never able to find a vaccine against it since the 1960s. And now we have this COVID thing, which is the exact same virus, to be honest. Look the exact same, it just has a little a small mutation that but it's still classified as a coronavirus, and within 1 year we have a vaccine. So now you can say, okay, this is great because all the countries have been working together on it, so they were super fast with it. But yeah, on the other hand, it is also kind of weird. And is the long-term testing done on vaccines, and what are the long-term effects on it? Will you is there any research done? Yeah, it's up to you to decide that. If you are really if you think it's a big risk for you, yeah.
No more.
We can't say it anymore. No, sorry, but yeah. Okay, Major Tom says. Okay, I'm considering. Major Tom says, I will take it. Over 200 types of coronavirus. It's a family of viruses. Mad Mom says, I'm not taking it. I never do. So yeah.
Well, I mean, regardless, the new injection isn't going to help against the mutated virus. That's the last thing I'll say. And that's admitted. That's them saying it too.
Yeah, it is. Okay, well, we can actually. I think we are actually allowed to repeat comments on air. Just saying to you guys. I think we're allowed to do that.
I don't think we are. You can't discuss it at all. I already looked at the whole fucking terms of service. You can't talk about certain things. You can't talk about the vaccines. You can't talk about fucking election fraud. You can't talk about certain things. They have a whole different list of things that you can't talk about. But in other news, there's the whole situation in Russia.
Yeah, the Russia is such a disgusting country. Like, I get pissed off just hearing that word right now, because yeah, honestly, like, Russia's never been like my main focus, but seeing looking at them, how they talk about how the USA treats Assange and everything, all true. They treat Assange really bad, but what that country itself does to journalists and opposition is literally disgusting. And how they mingle themselves into the free Assange community, free press community, acting like they suddenly support free press. That's disgusting. I personally never share anything from RT, Ropley, and any of these things. And this is just my personal opinion. You guys can do whatever you want, but I'm not sharing any of that stuff, because this is some disgusting operation. I looked at the Committee to Protect Journalists worldwide. They already recorded 58 journalists in the last decade were killed in Russia. 58. And when they talk about... go ahead.
I was just going to say, we've shared Rupley stuff before in the past, but I mean, what's going on now in Russia and the fact that they're ignoring it is telling. It's very telling.
Yeah, of course, because this isn't like, you can say like, okay, so just because you're against Russia does not mean you're pro-American, and just because you're against America doesn't mean you're pro-Russian. You can hate both of these authoritarian states. You can hate Saudi Arabia too for hanging people for nothing, right? These are authoritarian states. Not just China is an authoritarian state too. This is where these people think they have full control over the normal people, and the normal people are like useless pawns to them, and they can do anything to these people that they want, and that is just disgusting. Because how they're treating now an opposition guy, they're like they try to poison him. Okay, so at first they poisoned him, and this is the opposition guy. Now they lock him up, and now they locked his wife up too. And there are already 2,000 people arrested for protesting because they removed the Article 20 thing, which is the right to assembly. So in 2011 they had new elections because the Duma state elections, and then in 2012 Putin took control over the country again, and they removed the right to peaceful assembly. Literally, there's no longer a right there. You can no longer protest if they don't want you to. It means that you can still organize protests, but they're legally allowed to stop it, right? The right to protest is removed. So only if they like you, they can let you protest. I've read that 101,000 people were protesting. today and yesterday, and that already 2,000 people are arrested, like masses of people being arrested. Let me look into that.
Yeah, and they were beating up the protesters in videos that were being shared by Annans, and it is fucking horrific.
Yeah, protests are in 112 Russian cities now. 2,100 protesters are arrested. 40,000 people protested in Moscow. There's all these pictures being released. You can search for Russia protests on social media, or Navalny. You can search for Navalny, Alexei Navalny, which is his name. It's Navalni. Actually, Y, right? That's what you say it in English.
Why? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So and they're being charged, attacked by riot police, literally.
Yeah. The videos were shocking, and I mean, it's not really shocking. I mean, Russia is brutal on fucking protesters as much as America is. But I mean, these guys are and girls are out there protesting for freedom of Navalny, and that's how they're being treated. I mean, it's comparable to the protesters that were protesting in London and how they were being treated by the cops for Assange. I mean, obviously they weren't being beaten as in those videos at Russia, but I mean, it's a similar thing. Protesting for somebody's human rights to free them, and that's the result, and that's the reaction that the governments kind of give.
Yeah, but it just shows that these governments jump on subjects when it benefits them, when something happens in another country, but when it happens in their own country, outlets like RT and stuff, they're silent. They're not doing anything, and they should. Like, where is RT America now? Why aren't they talking about this?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm just gonna to confirm that. I'm just gonna go to the website and see here. Let's see if there's news on this or not.
Well, if I look at the hashtags on Twitter and stuff, I see that everything is like from the BBC and all these outlets. I see normally you see RT all over the place. So whatever they're doing, they're not suddenly not on Twitter tags in any way.
Okay, so they are covering it. Widespread arrest and dozens of police injured in pro-Navalny protest in Russia, as organizers say more to come next weekend.
Dozens of police injured, right? That's a good way of saying it. You arrest 2,000 people, dozens of police injured.
Well, yeah, it says dozens of police. It says dozens of police injured in pro-Navalny protest in Russia. As an organizer say more to come next weekend, and then there's another one. Protesters clash with police in unsanctioned rally in support of jailed anti-corruption activist Navalny. And wife of jailed opposition activist Alexei Navalny arrested while protesting for his release in Moscow. So they are covering it. I mean, they're covering it. It's just the way that they're covering it, So it's not like they're ignoring it. They are covering it, but it's how they're covering it,
Yeah, okay, with injured police, unsanctioned protests. That hits me already in the face. These wordings, the way of wording these things. Yeah. Exactly, covering it with a narrative, Major Tom. This is what they're doing. Yeah. Yeah, well, they're listed on the... Yeah, police injured, exactly. Yeah, well, they're listed on the Kremlin side as the top 20 most important pro-Kremlin media strategist companies. So they are literally funded by the Kremlin in that sense.
I mean, these are like the biggest headline stories on RT right now.
Yeah.
They took such a turn, man. It's like the Daily Mail or fucking Mirror.co.uk, you know?
Yeah. And now they have like, okay, so this article too, did you see, scroll a little bit down on RT.com? Hypocrisy is a tool of US diplomacy. Russia slams Russia slams Washington's claim about suppressing Navalny protests. And literally in another article they say unsanctioned protests. So there's literally they're admitting they're suppressing it by saying it's unsanctioned, but at the same time they say hypocrisy is a tool of US diplomacy. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff you also see from CNN, but going the other way.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you can look at it, right? Like, I'm not going to say like, okay, it's just Russia fucking everything up. I mean, CNN is doing the same stuff about Russia, but I mean, they're doing it too, and this is just hostile propaganda machines, and they have nothing to do with us. They can just do their own bullshit, but I'm not going to share it because when you start sharing it, you're pushing traffic to them, and then these minds get filled with their other propaganda stuff. People easily fall for that. Nothing against listeners or whatever, not take them seriously, but it's just like can't take the risk on anything. I think we're just getting old or something. Not trusting anything anymore.
I mean, it took a turn for the worse, that's for sure. I mean, some of the stuff on RT, I mean, I'll still share, but not the stuff about Russia.
No, I appreciate the fact that they had that camera aimed at the U.S. At the embassy, right? Before Assange was arrested, taken out of the embassy, like a week before that, they already had these cameras aimed at it. They knew it was going to happen. Yeah, we all know how they knew that. But yeah, we were able to use their stream too. So that the credits for that. I mean, they gave us access to their stream, and we did it. We talked on air about it with their stream on the background. So yeah.
Yeah, they gave us permission to do it. I mean, that's cool, but I mean, it's not some of these people who are working there that are our enemies. It's the Russian government that's funding them.
Yeah, you never know. Okay, now you never know when they're going to take a turn, right? When they're going to move with full propaganda, and then you have given them all this attention, and you've given them all that clout, and then suddenly they take a move in the wrong direction. And that is always a risk with these things. The same like, okay, so you can share something from CNN when it's like about a car accident, right? Likely it's going to be legit what they're covering about a car accident. Like there's like a huge car or a huge plane accident, a plane crashes. Yeah. It's going to be legit, right? Or the weather or something. Yeah. So you share that, but then pull them into their other crap.
Yeah, it depends. It definitely depends.
Well, all I can say, like, just stay skeptical about everything, and when you know something is a state media, don't just trust everything. Just use your own mind, use your own brain.
I just want to ask you, RT, what's up with all the fucking uh, ladies on the right side of the page. No matter what page you go to, there's some scantily dressed women. What's up with that? Huh?
Yeah. Okay, so Navalny, big protests in Russia right now, thousands of people on the streets, and thousands being arrested, and protests being suppressed. That's all you need to know about it. Authoritarian states are going to do this. They don't like protesters. They don't like opposition. They actually should embrace opposition, to be honest, and win them in fair game. If you already have control over all the media, why suppress these people anyway? Just let them be opposition to you.
I noticed that Caitlin Johnstone has articles on RT. Is she writing for RT?
I don't know. She's a good writer, though. I always like her work.
Yeah, I'm curious if she's writing for RT or they're just aggregating her articles. I'm curious. It's interesting. It is very interesting that some of the people that RT get to have their own shows. Like now, Jesse Ventura has a show on RT again. It's now called The World According to Jesse.
Okay.
So yeah, it's very interesting. Some of the people they had, and then we were talking about Larry King earlier, and Larry King was on RT. After he his show was canceled on, I think it was CNN.
Oh, by the way, they're taking it from her own site. I just checked it. They're all these articles are published on CaitlinJohnstone.com. And they're taking it from there.
Okay, so they are aggregating them. That's what I thought. I wasn't 100% sure, but I was just curious.
Yeah, I just select a few sentences from these articles and I put them on a search engine and I find the other sources. So yeah, and I found that stuff being published on her own site. So in that sense, not just there, by the way. I mean also on outlets like Zero Hedge, for example. Those are
Right, yeah. Zero Hedge aggregates a lot of articles. I used to aggregate a lot of my articles when I was writing for various different alternative medias. Okay, this is fucking interesting. So, those National Guard troops that were forced to be in a parking lot? Remember them? A few days ago?
Yeah.
So, apparently 200 of them now have COVID.
Oh yeah, that is also what I read. These troops suddenly catch COVID.
Well, no shit. I mean, they're fucking all together, crammed together, fucking in a parking lot. I mean, in the cold weather. Their immune system is weakened, being in the cold weather. They could get a regular cold and then get COVID on top of it. I mean. But fuck. Whew.
Not sure why I was even laughing at that. Maybe because it was military people. Yeah.
Yeah, but these are National Guard. I mean, they're not fucking the people going over to kill people in other countries,
No, that's fair.
It's a fair thing.
Yeah. Major Tom says because even many Russians don't believe half the shit on RT. The only thing it's good for, like Al Jazeera, is that they cover global stories. Yeah, Al Jazeera is controlled by Qatar. The Qatar money So yeah, it will.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But also, Al Jazeera is banned in various different countries, and they do good reports on a lot of stuff in the Middle East. And a lot of these countries can't get that news because it's banned in their country by IP. So I mean,
Definitely, but then like with Al Jazeera, you also have this problem that okay, so they're funded from Qatar. You don't see them writing, or at least I don't have never seen them writing about the slave labor used in Qatar to build buildings, right?
Oh, of course not. Yeah, right.
I mean, Qatar uses slave labor, literally. They use slaves to build buildings there. Like, yeah, for the rich. So when we can, then of course they will talk about they will talk about real stuff, and I mean it's kind of like RT too. They will talk about real stuff. The stuff is actually going on, but yeah, it focuses only on the stuff others do and not on themselves. Like, and if it does, like you also showed, yeah, it puts another narrative on things too. Yeah.
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 So here's another one here. There's a guy in Texas, Garrett Miller, was arrested by the feds because he had commented that that he wanted to assassinate AOC, or Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, the one of the U.S. Democratic senators. So there's that, and apparently this guy went to the Capitol and all of that jazz, and the feds arrested him, and he apparently mouthed off to the wrong person on Facebook and said, just wanted to incriminate myself a little, and said he said he stormed DC to assassinate AOC. What the fuck would you say that, dude? Like,
Yeah.
you get away with storming the Capitol, and then you go off and talk to a potential informant or just somebody who reported you for it. I mean, you're saying that you're going to assassinate somebody. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's like you're begging for the worst.
Yeah. For real. So I mean, the Democratic senator, she quoted the tweet about the story and said, quote, just wanted to incriminate myself a little, unquote. Well, you did.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Oh, here's something from RT that's not going to be reported in the U.S. because it's against the U.S.,
Oh yeah.
So the U.S., AOC, says a committee is being discussed to rein in media and prevent false information spreading. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah. Okay. Well, the USA at this moment is also destroying the free press. Pretty much going to end it soon, I think. Free press is going to entirely disappear. And compromised, right? Compromise everything. That's what they will do. Yeah, Major Tom says, and the Saudis and the United Arab Emirates, they all use slave labor virtually. Yeah, the United Arab Emirates, I think Qatar is a part of that, right? If I'm correct. Not sure, but I think so. Yeah, they do that.
Well, I mean, we know Qatar and Saudi Arabia funded weapons into ISIS hands, and helped the U.S. try to overthrow Syria, Syria's government. And that's an ongoing thing. I mean, there's no doubt that that's still ongoing, trying to overthrow Syria, especially under Biden. I mean, under Biden, you think that plan to overthrow Syria is going away? Oh, hell no.
No. Like a finish the job thing, I guess. What they started under Obama, and these people, that they will continue.
Yeah, that's my fear of it too. Actually, is that it started under. Well, it didn't start under Obama. That's not entirely true. I mean, they've been trying to get into Syria and fucking around in Syria for decades. I mean, and the whole various different operations that the CIA ran in Syria. I mean, come on. Miles Copeland, who was a former CIA agent, I mean, he said before that they tried to overthrow and assassinate one of the Syrian leaders. I'll have to pull it up if you're interested, but I can find more information on it. I've written about it. I just don't know it off the top of my head. Like, all this stuff, I know a lot of information, and, like, I forget, like, some of this information because it's so much, man. Like, I know certain names here and there to, like, trigger my brain to remember some of it, but, yeah, there's so much that has happened in history, it's impossible to remember it all without, like, some type of, like, cheat card,
Yeah. Major Tom says, if AOC is saying it, probably means regulating Fox News and OANN. Probably, yeah. Yeah, and of course, Rupert Murdoch is damaging. They have their own motivations to things. If you talk about the Koch brothers too, they have their own motivation to do things. But on the other side, you have them too. I mean, just how it is. And your country is so big, and your media becomes so big, they become enterprises on the stock market. And then you have the biggest investors become the people in power.
So I just pulled up the information here. A bloodless coup took place on March 29th against who is it? I'm trying to see. Was against the father of current Bashar al-Assad. So yeah, that's very interesting. So it was actually his father that the coup took place under, or tried to take place under, and it was a failed attempt, but they attempted it, and this goes back to 1949. And Miles Copeland says that the plan called for the use of Husna al-Azim, who is the former chief of staff of the Syrian army, as their man to overthrow then President Shukr al-Kawali. And the CIA-backed coup destroyed Syria and plunged it into years of political instability and chaos, destabilizing the Middle East. Even though there was no assassination that took place, it was a bloodless coup. So there's a subsequent coup that followed in the years following, which was Operation Straggle and Operation Wappen. And several of these actually had assassination plots that led to the rise of Hafez al-Assad in 1971, who was actually the father of now, current President Bashar al-Assad. This has been going on since at least the 1940s, and it started with one coup, and then various different assassination plots under Straggle and Wappen, and it's escalated now to against Bashar al-Assad. There's actually a CIA report from September 1983 where, it outlines the U.S.'s goal of destabilizing Syria and opening a two-front war against the country to put pressure to overthrow previous Assad's, Hafez al-Assad's government. So, they've been at this for a long fucking time, man.
Yeah, it's obviously a threat in the region to them. They want to get rid of it.
Well, they want to control the government. That's what they want to do. They want to control the government. And, in a subsequent document, it was called The Serious Scenarios of Dramatic Political Change, which was authored by Foreign Subversion and Instability Center, that was a part of the CIA's mission for Center of Global Issues. They stated a number of possible scenarios that could lead to the ouster of President Assad, Bashar al-Assad's father, Hafez, or other dramatic change in Syria. And guess what they wanted it for? Just take a guess. I'll give you three guesses why they wanted to overthrow Assad. To install what?
Thinking to just install like ISIS and take the oil or something.
Well, I'll say your first guess, ISIS, was wrong. The second guess, oil pipeline, was correct. So, you got it. You got it the second time.
Okay, well, I'll settle for the 50% then. It's all expectable, right? I mean,
right.
Resources again. They have a lot of oil, iron ore too, by the way, and some other resources.
Right, yeah. right. But yeah, so back in 1986, they wanted to install an oil pipeline, and they wanted to overthrow Assad's father to do so. And things didn't end there. Actually, in Hillary Clinton's emails from 2001, there's a discussion of plans to overthrow both the Syrian government and the Iranian government. Actually, and this is in WikiLeaks. I have the email.
Okay, so that's
There's the email for you.
Thanks.
Now, if you remember, there's also the whole PNAC plan to invade Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Sudan. The whole 7 countries, 5 years plan.
Let's see if Uwe is here. I see him online on his other account because he can do that. Those Taiwan translations.
Yeah, I don't have any articles for him translate or anything, but he could give us an update on actually what the fuck's going on over there.
I'm not sure if he's here. I don't think so. Normally he's really fast in responding, but yeah. Hey, but you wanted to do at least one show every 2 days, right? Maybe even a daily show.
Yeah, depending. But I could definitely do one show every 2 days, but daily show not too sure of right now.
I have to prepare our the rest, the Asia panel people and maybe Europe panel too. And if you can do a daily show, it would actually be a great idea to do that. Tyler needs to be back too, though, to do the streaming, because I can't do it like every day. I can, but it actually does take a lot of time. I have a lot of other work too. But yeah, when Tyler is back, we could definitely do it, because he can pick up on the streaming, and he says he can do he can start next week Thursday with that again. So.
That wouldn't be daily. That would only be on Thursdays.
Yeah, and we have to inform him a bit about this, that this is going to happen. I hope he's up to it. Yeah, WikiLeaks, Hillary Clinton email archive. Okay. The best way to help Israel deal with Iran's growing nuclear capability is to help the people of Syria overthrow the regime of Bashar Assad. Yeah. Oh yeah, and the Clinton email also says, back to Syria, it is the strategic relationship between Iran and the regime of Bashar al-Assad in Syria that makes it possible for Iran to undermine Israel's security. Not through a direct attack, but through its proxies in Lebanon, like Hezbollah, that are sustained, armed and trained by Iran via Syria. The end of Assad's regime would end this dangerous alliance. Israel's leadership understands well why defeating Assad is now in its interests.
Right, and there's further documents from WikiLeaks that are diplomatic cables from 2006 that are very important as well in all of this in Syria.
Yeah,
that's the plus. These are the plus D cables. But first, I want to discuss more emails that Assange actually pointed out too. Is the Clinton emails dating back to 2012, where a State Department employee emails Clinton and tells her AQ is on our side in Syria. Otherwise, things have basically turned out as expected. And Assange points this out and says that they broke the law, they helped terrorists and all of that, and nothing happens to them, but he's the one that gets punished for journalism. So, in that email from a State Department employee who goes by Sullivan, it basically says AQ is on our side in Syria, and they were smuggling weapons actually in Libya and Benghazi that actually poured over into Syria, and Mark Turi, who's a former arms dealer, actually threatened the Clintons to expose the plan to arm anti-Gaddafi rebels against the former former Libyan leader. And at the height of the Arab Spring, a CIA covert weapons program involved sending weapons to Qatar, who then funneled them into Libya and other Arab countries. And this is what I said before about how Qatar was funding ISIS, because they were funneling these weapons into Libya and other Arab countries through the CIA. So this is speculation, but the whole situation that happened with the Saudis and Khashoggi, I would not be surprised if Saudi Arabia was also involved in that weapons smuggling, and he might have known about it. Because the name Khashoggi was actually involved in his relative or father, I can't remember what it is, was involved in the former Iran-Contra program, arming of the Nicaraguas and all of that that was going on. And, Khashoggi was one of the arms dealers. And I would not be surprised if he carried on that family job. It makes sense to me that that would be continued on by the name Khashoggi, and I think personally that it's a possibility that there was some arms trafficking going on between Saudi Arabia and in the Middle East. But we know that Qatar, we have documentation that Qatar was actually involved in the arms smuggling.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
So this is interesting that I think a lot of people missed. Reuters had reported in 2012 that the FSA's command was dominated by Islamic extremists, and despite this, the U.S. government had sent them weapons to help them to overthrow Assad. So they were arming terrorists in the region, as they did with Operation Cyclone and in the years before, where they were arming the Mujahideen against the Soviets. So
Yeah, that's what people need to understand. Yeah, what the origin behind Al Qaeda and Mujahideen and these people, right? They were armed by the West, so to speak, and their local allies against the Russians back then.
right, and in June 2014, it was actually reported that Al Nusra had merged with ISIS at the border between Iraq and Syria.
Yeah,
So a lot of people don't know this information, and and it's very interesting that people don't realize what was going on in Syria. But it was the same situation of what was going on with Operation Cyclone and arming the Mujahideen.
yeah. So it's disgusting, and these are things called like proxy operations. Like they use existing forces in the region, amplify them, and they don't seem to really care what these forces want. They just want to destabilize the government, and then have these forces take over for multiple reasons, I guess.
Right, but then it backfires on them time and time again. It always backfires, and they should realize that by now that it's gonna fucking backfire. But here is something that I just scrolled through to that kind of fits my point about I think Saudi Arabia was also involved in weapons smuggling. So in 2010, Clinton's top aide said that they had sent $60 billion in weapon transfers and fighter jets and helicopters to Saudi Arabia, and that it was a top priority. As weapons flowed into Libya from the conduit in Saudi Arabia and Qatar through a CIA-sanctioned program, is it really out of the realm of possibility that weapons also flowed into Syria? No.
Of course
Like,
not. No.
Now, it's great when things are postulated as a question, but it's even better when we actually have documents that support it. So the New York Times actually documented that under the Obama administration, the CIA had used Saudi Arabia to fund the rebels in Syria. so, like, I think wholeheartedly that Khashoggi might have been involved in that, and that's why what happened. In my opinion, at least, I think that he was involved high level with smuggling weapons, and he was just basically a loose end. That's speculation, but I don't think it's not warranted because we have evidence that the Khashoggi family was used before for weapon smuggling, and we also have evidence that Saudi Arabia was used for weapon smuggling. So you put two and two together, I mean, it's a possibility. I'm not saying that it's a definitive fact, but it's a possibility, and it's more than just speculation without any form of evidence,
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking through the. Yeah, okay. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
Right.
Assad is also a butcher. We may not want the U.S. to take over, but he is still a tyrant, which is fair to say.
I think he's a tyrant. I think he's a tyrant, but I think a lot of the stuff that they've accused him of like gassing his own people. I don't think he would gas his own people when there's various different investigations going on him. It just doesn't make sense. And as we discussed yesterday, I mean, in 2011, I think it was, the Syrian government nationalized their oil and stopped taking U.S. dollars. And then after that, it's been downhill. So, I don't disagree that Assad is a tyrant and that he has done bad things. I don't disagree against that, but the question is, what's real and what's fake? And that's the problem, is being able to decipher that, because the U.S. and other Western governments are over there creating propaganda to justify invasion.
Yeah, and what's just sad is, okay, so you have problems in your country, and as people you want more rights, so you have your revolution or whatever, you have your protests to get more rights. That is your fight. And then another country that doesn't care shit about your rights either is coming in, is giving you weapons, is making you overthrow them with the help of even worse people. And they pretty much put you under the ISIS regime, Al Qaeda regime, which is even worse than where you've been. Like, you see it in Iraq.
Now the next things is going to, it's going to solidify everything that I've been talking about in regards to Syria. And if you haven't listened to what I said about Syria, I mean, the U.S. has been trying to get into Syria since the 1940s. And they have had successful campaigns over the years. But ever since the 1970s, with Bashar al-Assad's father, they have again picked up their campaigns to try to overthrow the government of Syria. And what I'm going to tell you is that actually under Clinton's State Department 2011 and the previous George Bush administration, the CIA had actually secretly financed Syrian political opposition groups and related projects, including even a satellite TV channel called Barada TV. And this is according to diplomatic cables that were released by WikiLeaks. Further, another 2006 cable reveals the Bush administration tried to award $5 million in grants to accelerate the work of reformers in Syria. However, no dissidents inside Syria were willing to take the money because they feared that it would lead to their arrest or execution for treason.
Oh my God. These people know what they're doing, and they're doing it everywhere. Like, sometimes you think, like, how are they able to do this all over the world?
Yeah, and there's an even more damning cable that comes from Jeremy Hammond and everyone who was involved in the Stratford files. British and American special forces were actually already on the ground advising anti-Assad militants in the first year of the current Syrian conflict, which coincidentally enough started in 2011 while the CIA was running an ongoing propaganda campaign in Syria. And even more damning than that is a diplomatic cable from 2006 that mentions that the U.S. Embassy in Damascus had discussed plans to destabilize the Assad government by exploiting potential vulnerabilities 5 years before the conflict even started.
What do you guys think of that?
So this is why WikiLeaks is so important. We would not know any of that fucking information if it wasn't for both Jeremy Hammond and the other hackers that were involved in leaking the Stratford files, as well as the leakers of the diplomatic cables that many suspect was Chelsea Manning. And I could probably just say outright that's probably true. That not only the Afghan and the Afghan and Iraq war logs, but probably also the U.S. diplomatic cables at the same time. But without WikiLeaks, we would not know that information. And we would not know that our government and the CIA are working to overthrow another government, a foreign government, and using all these tricks of the trade of propaganda and other the various different techniques.
Yeah, definitely, and it also makes me sad that you hear so few shows actually dig into these files, right? The WikiLeaks of the email files and these things, and that should be done far more, I think.
Right.
Yeah, because now like, you're like sending these emails to me, and I'm just reading through these emails. I don't hear that too often in shows. I don't see them talking about it. Like there's much emphasis put on the Assange extradition case, for example, and the Assange court case. But there should be more emphasis on this actual trove of documents that we have now available.
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, these documents, they provide a historical context, and without them, we would know various different things. And Assange also redacted a lot of different things. I mean, so he didn't do it maliciously. He did it as a form of informing the public. And the last thing that I want to end with for all this is that the CIA actually admitted that in the 1950s they had hired Iranians to pose as communists and stage bombings in Iran in order to turn the country against its democratically elected prime minister. So anybody who argues that CIA would never arm terrorists, or let alone give them explosives, is extremely misinformed and a fucking idiot.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So Mayor Tom says Biden announced a plan to stop support for Saudi today because of their atrocities in Yemen. A little late, as Trump sold them $8 billion in weapons already.
Oh, absolutely. Trump made various different deals with the Saudis, and he also received a lot of gifts from the Saudis as well. They pampered the fuck out of him with gifts when he went over there, and then all of a sudden all these deals have to go through with military deals for the military-industrial complex with Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia giving them the weapons to bomb and kill Yemen civilians, in the disguise of saying we're killing Yemen terrorists. It's fucking ridiculous, and it's sad because all those Yemen people are over there fucking suffering, and the Saudis are being armed to do it.
Yeah. To be honest, I think we'll see Biden focus on the Russia situation and China, perhaps, right?
What about Iran?
Yeah, but would they be willing to fight three front wars? These Americans, I think.
I think it would be the fucking dumbest thing that the U.S. has ever done. Do we have enough soldiers to fight 3 different countries? No.
We do have, one major question is, do they actually care about the USA? That is the thing you have to realize. Do they care about themselves and their military industrial complex, or about the USA people? For economic reasons, you don't longer have to do it anymore. I mean, the entire Western economies have all collapsed under this lockdown situation. So What's the next move?
Yeah.
But that's the psychological question, right? People always think like, yeah, they care about us or something, that they're not going to do the war because we can't handle it. But what if these people actually don't care about you? What is possible then? Major Tom, he says, shitloads of stuff on WikiLeaks that never sees the light of day. People are too lazy to dig through the millions of documents. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
We have
it's
AK.
millions of documents.
Say that again?
I said it's millions of fucking documents.
Yeah, well,
Most of it, you gotta understand, most of it is just communications. I mean, to find the gems in that is a long fucking time digging.
yeah, that's why it was also so important for WikiLeaks to make these searchable things online, right? It made it easier to search through the emails, search through the other data. And that is also what made them so dangerous, or makes them so dangerous. But yeah, you need people actually digging through it. And I mean, if people are listening, you can do that too. You can just go on a WikiLeaks site and go to this trove, like a trove of documents, and you can just search for information, because there's a lot of stuff that no one even talks about. There's a lot of data in there, and yeah, because I posted something and I saw a comment, and it was a person saying, yeah, WikiLeaks never leaked stuff on Israel, and they listen to the Israeli government. But if you just go to a search engine, like a random search engine, I'm not going to advise Google or something, but you type in WikiLeaks Israel, and you find a shitload, a ton of files on Israel. Just saying, there are so many files about that, and then we're not even talking about what we just read, like the internal emails from like Clinton and stuff, literally talking about what the Israeli government and stuff people want with the Assad and these things. So that is not even like specifically about Israel, but Israel is in there too. So yeah, there's a lot of information that doesn't get amplified, but actually should be. I think that's also the biggest favor you can do to Julian right now. Instead of just focusing on his extradition case, the big favor you can do for Julian is actually also to spread some really reliable information that, yeah, is never even mentioned. Yeah.
Right. And the thing is, like with these documents, I mean, it's again, it's very hard to find the gems in all of the files that they released. I do know some of them though, for sure.
Yeah, no, I read through a lot of files, but yeah, you have to just focus on, if you make like an article or something, you can use a lot of these things for sources. Because that one thing we do know, that nothing has ever been retracted, nothing ever was false. It's all 100% reliable, the information, so that's up now. Muscle Ray says he found in the Stratford section of a PDF of old scientists discussing how to have sex in space. It was a paper. So even that stuff is on it. Yeah, and Russia. Tens of thousands of leaks on Russia. True. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody always says they don't have any leaks on Russia. You want to see the best one, and it has files missing, and I'm pretty sure this is an insurance file.
Yeah.
I just sent it to you. Report that UR destroyed secret U.S. base on Moon.
Oh yeah, but that's we mentioned that before in an episode in the past, right?
Yeah. The document. The funny thing is that the actual cable is missing from here, and that's not like Assange. He usually redacts things. So the cable missing to me means that this might be one of the insurance files. I mean, releasing that the U.S. has had a secret moon base. I mean, you remember, I've talked about a source telling me before that he worked on a moon base, and was mining on the moon, and he told me that he had seen space fish when I asked him if there was anything alien in space, and he said space fish, and I was like, space fish? What the fuck? But I mean, this confirms that what he said was truthful. I think, in my opinion, that they had a moon base, and it was probably rebuilt after destroyed. I doubt that it was destroyed and then, not rebuilt. It was likely rebuilt.
Yeah. Well, you can also go in. You can also use logic for that. That is that the first satellites and stuff that went there, they did seismology and stuff. They look into what kind of empty spaces are there below ground, and these things. And that's the first. They just map the entire planet, and they look okay. So there are these cave systems on the ground. We can look at those things because you have an atmosphere problem at the moon. Of course, you can't just breathe there.
Well, they also had Project Horizon, where they discussed building a moon base, and then they said that it was shut down. But the fact is that this cable exists, and saying that the Soviets destroyed a U.S. secret moon base is one of the things that I think would flip the whole world on its head, and I can see that being an insurance file, absolutely.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff you can't even touch, right? It's so far away from what everyone knows.
Well, I touch all that stuff because I can say with ease that the U.S. had several secret space programs that they were operating in the 1950s and all the way up to the 1990s, and then it vanished, and they said that they had quit the programs after spending millions, maybe even billions of dollars on these programs, possibly even trillions. I mean, they spent a lot of fucking money developing these programs. There's no way they're just going to close them down. They closed them down from the public and said that to hide behind it. That's it. I know the official name of the TR-3B Aurora project that everybody calls the Flying Triangle, right? That official name is actually the Lockheed Pulsar, and this craft, the TR-3B or the Lockheed Pulsar, is actually a electrogravitic craft, where it kind of defies gravity, but not anti-gravity, but defies gravity. It uses pulsation technology to energize the wings and the engine to create a levitation effect, essentially. And this Lockheed Pulsar, or the TR-3B, is actually a quote-unquote mothership, and it holds in it other crafts or drones. In this case now it's probably more so drones, but it used to be aircrafts that they would have in it, so they could launch aircrafts from within this hangar. It was a floating hangar where they could launch jets out of, essentially. Which, I mean, that shouldn't be too insane for people to realize could exist. I mean, we have that with ships, naval ships, aircraft carriers, right? It's just, I don't think they would use bombers on this, but they would use fighter jets. So, I mean, it's very interesting. When you dig into all of the secret space program stuff that the Army and military was working on back then, and then they say that all of the programs are canceled, one after the other, you know? So it definitely seems like there was a lot more going on than, we're being told.
Yeah, so Leah Beckman asks, why do they hide it from the public? Well, there are multiple reasons, of course, but one of the reasons is actually a very logical one. That is that these secret operations are also funded by a huge secret funneling of money that comes from the illegal market. But CIA, for example, that has been heavily involved in cocaine trafficking in the past. And this is money that is like black budget money. There isn't really an oversight on that kind of money. So next to the fact that it's just shocking for the public and they're not supposed to know about this kind of stuff, and like other countries can't know about it because they will steal technology, whatever, or spy on it. But there's also that logical part that there is illegal money being funneled into these operations. So,
well, yeah, that's true. Early on, I would say that's definitely true. As time went on, I mean, it became less being funded from black. Well, it's still Black Ops budget. It's still black budget funding, but it's not funded from gun running and drug running and trafficking and stuff like that brought in the CIA money, like it was with the BCCI scandal and the BNL scandal and all of that, where they kind of like use those banks to launder that money, and then use those same banks to fund various different operations, be it whatever it was arming the Contras or any of that, or the drug smuggling that was going on. So, I mean, going back to like some of these projects, I mean, the Air Force actually was interested in space weapons and considered a plan that was called Project A119. And they had been considering creating a plan for creating different space weapons all the way back in the 1950s. And this report was actually declassified by the Air Force Nuclear Weapons Center in June 1959. And it shows they wanted to investigate the capability of weapons in space. So going back all the way to the 1950s, we know that they were interested in the weapons in space. Around that same time frame, in the 1950s, the Army also drafted up plans for what is known as Project Horizon. Project Horizon was the need to establish an Army control base on the moon by 1966. And that operation was allegedly shut down and canceled after the idea never materialized. It's also not only the only advanced space technological idea that was canceled. Oh shit, I lost my spot, sorry.
Okay, someone says it's a Nazi moon based, by the way, just saying.
I mean, that's another thing. We have no idea. It sounds insane, but Werner von Braun, who created the first rocket over here in the U.S. For NASA, right? He was involved in creating rockets for the Nazis. And supposedly he had created some workable prototypes.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And that isn't a big secret. Like what I also said in a previous episode is, if you look at old pictures of NASA employees and NASA scientists and rocket scientists, just look at the people with the scars in their face. Some don't have scars, but some very prominent figures there have scars in their face, and that is because they are former Nazis. It's very easy to say that because the former Nazis, it's very popular among them to do the sports of fencing, and they would hit each other in the face a lot. So they all have scars in the face.
Right.
Almost no exception. Because there's always someone better than you, and he's going to like make scars in your face. So, yeah. You see,
Right.
yeah. You see, I didn't even when I first heard about that story, I didn't even believe it. So I went looking into these pictures myself, and I saw it too. So yeah. You can see Project Paperclip, where they took all these Nazi scientists to the U.S. who were very advanced.
So, going back to all the evidence of the military and secret space program stuff, it's there's another program. It was called the Manned Orbiting Laboratory, or the MOL, and this was during the Cold War. They proposed this program, and it ran from December 1963 until its alleged cancellation in June 1969. And its mission was to use an elite corps of secret U.S. astronauts to gather intelligence on the Soviets during the Cold War. This historical fact, proves that secret astronauts existed and may exist today, because they ran this program in the 1960s. And interestingly enough, this isn't the moon base that that cable's talking about, because that cable says 1979. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I believe you.
It says, okay, so it says date 1979, January 24th. So it was sent on a Wednesday, and it was 1979, January 24th. Report that that the Soviets destroyed secret U.S. base on Moon. So that's not the same base that they're discussing. So, they did have this at one point in time in the 1960s, right? Now, it doesn't end there. And this is why I'm probably one of the most dangerous people when it comes to this information. So, the U.S. actually in the late 1950s spent billions of dollars on it was called Dinosaur, an advanced reusable space plane. They then quietly announced its cancellation in 1963. Going back, 1963, MOL, 1963. That was when it started. So they announced that the Dinosaur, an advanced reusable space plane, was canceled in 1963, when in 1963 they started the MOL mission. And it ran until 1969. Now today, everyone knows the U.S. Air Force has another plane that's been documented to be in space. It's called the X-37B. And we don't know what this craft has been doing. They say it's classified. They won't tell us what it's been doing. But it kind of seems like it's sending payloads up into space of some sort. So they're doing something. Now, it could be working on satellites. That's a possibility. However, I think it's that there's a lot more going on. So in 1989, the New York Times, when they actually did their job, had reported the Air Force had shut down another planned manned space program. Now, this is where things get fucking weird, and people don't pay attention, and when they realize it is where there's minds blown. in 1989, they reported that the military spacecraft had a staff of 32 astronauts, and that the shuttle could hold 32 astronauts. And at that point in time, it's important to note that most modern space shuttles only carried 8. And still to this day, most modern space shuttles only carry 8. The space facility and project costed an estimated $5 billion, right? So, why would they shut that down? Remember, this is 1989. This is just prior to Bill Clinton's presidency. Right?
Yeah, true. He was yeah.
Right.
He was he was made a president in what is 1990 or?
I thought, yeah. Let me double check that real quick. Hold on.
No, he was. No, it was.
1993. 1993 was Bill Clinton. So okay, so who was the president in 1992? I think that was Bush Senior.
Yeah. Bush Senior was. The famous.
So this is happening under Bush Senior's presidency. That makes it even more suspicious because he was heavily involved in the CIA.
Yeah.
Now, what's very interesting with this is that there's even further information here. In Ronald Reagan's actual diary, he writes that he has had lunch. Hold on. He has had lunch with the 5 top scientists at the time, and they discussed and told him that they had a space shuttle that carries 300 men. Now, I don't know if that's an error, and he meant to say 30, but 300 men is a lot of fucking people in a space shuttle.
Yeah,
no, here's the exact.
By the way, I see Smiler and also Freeman arrived. So.
Okay, cool. All right, so here's the quote: lunch with 5 top space scientists. It was fascinating. Space truly is the last frontier, and some of the developments there in astronomy, etc., are like science fiction, except they are real. I learned that our shuttle capacity is such that we could orbit 300 people. Now, orbiting 300 people is a task, right?
Yeah, of course. 300 people is a lot of people. I mean, that doesn't fit in a space shuttle. Yeah, sorry guys. Smiler just says like, our title is China, Taiwan, Russia, and also Larry King died. It should just be China, Taiwan, Russia separate, and also Larry King died.
Oh, did you fuck up the title?
Yeah, it seems to suggest that China, Taiwan, Russia, and Larry King all died. So.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Smiler, I mean, you can just jump on. I was thinking, okay, Freeman, maybe he wants to talk about Russia too.
I would love to go back into Taiwan and China, if Smiler's there or whoever can translate what's going on over there.
Yeah. Yeah, she asked what do you want translated. Yeah. What we just need is reliable information about the situation there.
Taiwan. I want Taiwan news translated over there. That's what I want.
And maybe give her the basics about what's going on, what we discussed, what's going on there.
Okay, so basically, basics is China just flew a whole bunch of jets over Taiwan, and I want to know the response by Taiwan to China.
You got that, right? Okay.
Yeah, she said yeah. She's typing. She's not talking. Okay.
No, it's fine. It's fine. And she wants to jump on and talk about these things too, but this is we were like talking about crazy space stuff, or maybe not so crazy actually. But yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not so crazy because they had multiple fucking programs. That's the thing, and then now we have Space Force. So it's obvious to me that they never shut down any of those military operations for space, and they're now disclosing it as Space Force. It's just very obvious to me. There's no reason that the government would spend $5 billion, or the military-industrial complex would spend $5 billion just to shut down programs, and that's just one program.
Yeah, but you know how it goes in development and stuff too. When in development they create some prototype and then they ask for funding to create it in large scale. So before they say like, yeah, we want a huge space force, there will already be a prototype space force. That's now it's just how it works. If it's not feasible, they won't ask for the funding and stuff. So it's not it's very logical that there is a space force already. By the way, Victoria Falcon says she is an AK fangirl.
Who? What? Where? When?
Yeah, in the YouTube chat you have a fangirl. I was saying.
It's interesting.
Yeah, you got that right. Okay, Smiler, she seems to be close it down. I see her typing. They're not used to it. We're going out like live daily. I already said it. Like, we're planning.
Well, I don't know if I could do that one. I could do fucking bi-daily, like more than likely, but not daily. I don't know. It's a lot to be able to do these shows, and I fucking do so much already, and constantly have meetings and everything, and I can't really commit to a direct time, so that kind of sucks. So just go live whenever.
Yeah, we'll just see when we go live. We'll wait for Smart. He says he didn't even know about it before you said it, so that shows.
Really? Yeah, it just happened today. So it's a massive thing that's going on right now. And also, going back to all this space stuff while we wait, there's supposedly a program that's known as Solar Warden. That's made up of U.S. aerospace black project contractors, with contributions from Canada, United Kingdom, Italy, Australia, Russia, and Australia. And interestingly enough, in 2010, while conducting a Freedom of Information request with the DoD, a researcher, Darren Perks, had a unexpected response by email which read, "About an hour ago, I spoke to a NASA rep who confirmed this was their program and that it was terminated by the president. He also informed me that it was not a joint program with the DoD. The NASA rep informed me that you should be directed to the Johnson Space Center FOIA manager. And this was in response to looking for information on solar warping.
Okay.
Guys,
Hey.
Yeah.
yeah, I think I can talk a little about that incident in Taiwan that it just happened yesterday, though I actually haven't heard about it before you said so. And I kind of realized why, because when I read along the news, I realized they've been doing so since probably September last year.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I said that earlier.
yeah, like since September, they've been having jets into the Taiwan's region for like 20 times per month.
Yep.
Yep, but this time it's the one with the largest scale in a while. So
Well, this time it included bombers. It didn't include bombers the last couple times. It only included fighter jets. So the bombers being added is a big deal. You know, that's a big like intimidating threat. Like we have bombers over your country. You know.
right. Okay, perhaps you want to tell me like how much did you talk about it just then, so I could add to it.
Okay, so earlier in the episode, we discussed basically fully everything that was going on. I discussed what basically led to all of this, various different confrontations between Taiwan and China, the confrontations between the U.S. trying to get trade deals in Taiwan, and multiple diplomatic meetings between U.S. officials and Taiwan officials, which resulted in China sending fighter jets over Taiwan for the past year since last summer. So that's what we discussed earlier. I'm just kind of curious what Taiwan's response has been to China's aggression of flying. I think it was 8 fighter jets and 4 bombers overhead.
Yes, and also there was one other jet. Let me try translating that one. It's a term I don't. Okay, I'll skip that one. Yes, what you said was right. For now, the government of Taiwan haven't yet, from the news that I can see, come out and have spoken anything yet. Not yet, because it was just yesterday that it happened. However, the army actually didn't do much. So when the jets entered Taiwan, they sent some jets as well to confront them, and there were announcements made in there, and that's probably it. Nothing much.
So the Taiwanese, the Taiwanese government did not respond, or the military did not respond by doing anything, or setting up anti-aircraft missiles or anything like that.
There, I think they did send some anti-aircraft missile, but like the way it was described, it was for surveillance, not really like any kind of attack. Like it's all defense, right there.
Right. Well, anti-aircraft missiles are usually used to take down aircrafts when they fly in restricted airspace. So, is that what they set up? They set up those after the attack, or what did they do? Because I'm curious because the last time they
Hmm.
did set up anti-aircraft missiles, and they threatened China and said, "If you fly in our airspace again, we're shooting down your crafts." Like,
Hmm. Yeah, they did send that on site, so that was at that time, but nothing was shut down. So I think that was just there to like scare them away and stuff.
right? Yeah, that's usually what it's used to intimidate back. Right.
Right. And I did see some kind of other scholars commenting on these things. And they say this aggression this time, or probably this time specifically, not just in January, was related to the new president Biden.
Right.
So because yeah, probably because Biden would also take a strong stance towards China. That's why they, like Beijing, would want to also show muscle before like any kind of any kind of what do you call that word conflict would happen. So like they will want to show that like we are still having the lead in this kind of situation and so on.
Right. Yeah. It's a for better lack of a term, it's a dick measuring contest between China and the U.S. Um, and I mean, like, I think in my opinion, at least, I think
Mhm.
that China has done this because of the sanctions that Trump had put on them earlier in the month, and also the comments that Mike Pompeo said, how he said that he had proof that the Chinese um, government had unleashed COVID and deliberately, and that they were going to reveal that proof. Um, and obviously now he's gone and being replaced, but it will be interesting if we see that same rhetoric happening from the Biden administration, or if that stops.
Mm. From an outsider view, I've had heard a lot of comments that Biden would actually be I don't know, more kind to China. Probably I've heard
Right, he has a lot of
his
investment
policy.
in
He would,
China. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, he wouldn't take such a strong stance as Trump did earlier. That was some speculations from people who commented.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that. But again, I mean, what China also did yesterday is interesting. You know, they basically wrote into law that their Coast Guard can now fire at any foreign vessels in the South China Sea. Um,
So perhaps they could shoot across South China Sea, like
well,
shoot towards outside. Would that count? If they're at the border of the two seas.
they consider that they don't have a border and that the whole South China Sea is theirs, and essentially that um,
Right.
anybody who crosses that, they have the right to. The last time they rammed a ship,
Mm-hmm.
and the other time the U.S. and China passed each other, and they fired missiles off into the air. Both of them, both of them fired missiles off into the air, kind of to like to scare each other. Now, China is saying that if you sail through, we're going to shoot you with missiles. Like, don't know how that's going to go, honestly. and it's not just the U.S. It's also the Philippines and other countries around that area, Taiwan as well. So I don't know what that means. That you can now fire on foreign vessels. Don't know what that means, to be honest. But if you could look into that, that'd be great. I would love to actually have the full translation of what they said.
You mean on the Chinese side?
Yeah. If you could find the directive or whatever on the Chinese website, I couldn't for the life of me.
Okay. Right, I'll have
I
to
would
use VPN to get
I
it,
knew
I
every
know.
language, so that way I would be like the like master Googler. Be able to find whatever on every single language. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm only good with English, so that's my limitation.
That's a pity, but good enough for you. You can already see a lot of stuff. I mean, before you, I didn't know about this as well. So you're getting access to a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, I have sources all over to fucking send me shit. I mean, like I said
Mm-hmm.
before, the other week there was Marines that were training in Philippines with the Philippine military, running a drill. Now, obviously, if I leaked that drill before it happened, I could get in a lot of trouble. But the fact is that I said it after the drill happened. I'm fine.
See, you know what? Another thing about this drill or operation, whatever you call it, like people commented on it saying that this could actually be a really significant one because it shows that to mainland China, the CCP is ready to cross their border for Taiwan as well.
Yeah, I,
So
I
they're
think
not just like
the same.
staying there. Yes, it is making a statement like we are ready to cross.
Yeah, I think the same.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab water. Be right back.
Okay, cool. Mark, you there?
Hey, I'm here. Yeah, sorry, you're not alone out there.
It's okay. No, I mean I see your circle in green, but I don't hear you. That's why I wonder.
No, I do have one comment about what you said. Like, I mean, he talks only English, right? But if
Mm-hmm.
you only base yourself on English translations, you're also talking about like, in what way are they translating it, right? Sometimes you can give a
Right.
different context to words. You can give a different way of saying it. It makes the article entirely different, honestly. Even though it's a factually correct translation, you can still make an
Right, that's
article.
true. That's the importance of the media, like how they are translating, how they are describing from which kind of perspective. Because, no reports were entirely objective.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, that's what we're dealing with. And nowadays we can't trust much anymore of all this media stuff. So it's good that we have
Mhm.
actual people with us who can actually understand that language too. I mean, yeah. Because I wouldn't know what to believe if they write something else down, and I would just fall for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the
I
YouTube.
wonder, like,
Go ahead.
at your place in Europe, did they also report something like this?
No, we don't hear anything about this kind of stuff. Nothing.
Right, I was just thinking whether it would be just like some kind of niche that AK found it, or it was reported everywhere except right in the spot of Asia.
Yeah, no, he goes digging around all the time.
Mm-hmm. Because even when I'm looking at the Taiwanese news, it's not on the front page.
No. But the Navalny stuff is on the front pages here. I mean, in Russia, these protests against that opposition leader, they're supporting that opposition leader against Putin. He is arrested and he was poisoned before by the Russian government. That stuff is on the front page, definitely.
Of course, that one. But yeah, I mean, it has to be.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so this is where yeah, the U.S. government will write shit about Russia. Yeah, Europeans will write it too. They will write. The Russians will write shit about the USA all the time. Yeah, this is what these governments do.
Yeah.
But yeah, here, of course, they're going to amplify that stuff. That the opposition leader is being targeted by the government. Yeah, which is fair though. I mean, it's not a nice country.
It's hard to comment on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it's okay. So we can easily, I can
It's
easily
just
prove
about
that.
how good people hide it, yeah?
Yeah, no, I can easily prove that. That's like they removed the Article 20, which is the freedom of assembly, freedom of peaceful assembly,
Mhm.
since 2012 when Putin came to power again, right? And he removed that article, which is a human rights article that they actually signed. Because they're part of the European Council on Human Rights and they signed for these articles, and that has the right to peaceful assembly. I mean, you can just gather on the street and protest something. They removed that from their human rights. So now it means, yeah, you need a sanctioned protest. It needs to be literally, yeah, it needs to be accepted, or otherwise you can't do it. Yeah, well, that's not.
So,
Yeah.
like, what do they define as the kind of protest or assembly?
Yeah, well, let's say you protest for more streets and more trees in your street, then probably you will get permission, right? But if you protest against the sitting government there, you have a problem getting it approved.
I
So
mean, like, for until how many people do they consider that an assembly? Or, like, to what kind of level would they consider that a protest? That's interesting to know.
yeah, no, good question. Now I just know that the government can say yes or no against the protest, and if it says no, then you just have a big problem. They can arrest you all.
I see.
Yeah, and now you have protests in 112 cities in Russia. They say over 100,000 people are protesting, and there's already 2,100 arrests made.
Since 2012?
Yeah, 2,100 people arrested already, and it is increasing. Yeah, and it's just a legitimate opposition leader, right? It is not like some weirdo. It is a legitimate opposition, and
Mhm.
it's
You know,
right.
sometimes when I'm looking at like numbers in such a big country as in the US or in Russia, I really don't know how to quantify them because I don't know whether that's large number or small, but you know, thinking about it further, there should be none. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah, there shouldn't be any people who get arrested for just protesting.
no, exactly.
Yeah.
You shouldn't get arrested
the
at
point.
all for protesting. Now I know
Yeah.
they start doing it here too, for like the COVID reasons and stuff. If you're standing too close or whatever, they
Yeah.
start doing it too now. But yeah, you can still always organize. I mean, it's just illegal. And yeah, but in Russia, apparently, if it's not allowed, they will just arrest everyone. I mean, for me, it's huge numbers, 2,100 people arrested. I mean,
Mhm.
it's a pretty large
Yeah.
operation to just put 2,100 people in vans and like take them away. But yeah, it's a country with what, almost 200 million people, so in that sense, it's not that many. But yeah, like you said, it should be none.
Yeah, there should be none.
Let me see. Well, someone messaged me. I don't know. Going to do a basics class. Yeah. Oh, we're still going to do Operation New Blood in that sense. Yeah. there's a load of articles and things about how to stay safe online and yeah. I don't know, is there any other news you want to mention?
Me?
I just posted something.
Yeah, okay.
You gotta read it though.
What is that? You know what? That's some illegal assembly.
You gotta read it. Like, you have to read it. You can't just not read it.
I'm going to read it now. Reading the title. Reading the title to listeners. A gang of 100 monkeys raids farm to steal food in Thailand. You can search for that one online.
First line of it.
Oh, no. You have to read the article.
Yeah. First line says a gang of more than 100 monkeys has raided the farm to steal food in Thailand after a lack of tourists due to COVID-19 cut off their regular food supply.
So
Which is the regular food supply is from tourists.
Yeah.
They just steal food from here or there, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought that was funny because it's like, it shows how smart monkeys are. Like, they're gonna organize together and raid a farm.
It's a gang. No doubt about it. Where do you get the video? Because it says video footage and then... Okay, I see.
It's at the bottom, yeah.
Oh gosh, it's playing me ads.
Oh, we have this huge dead air while we're all reading this funny article.
You're supposed to read it out loud for the listeners.
Okay, I will. A gang of more than 100 monkeys has raided a farm to steal food in Thailand after a lack of tourists due to COVID-19 cut off their regular food supply. Video footage shows adult and baby monkeys, which are normally fed by tourists, racing to grab chunks of corn to eat in Nakhon Ratchasima province on January 18. The villagers could only watch from afar as the creatures ravaged their crops. One of the farmers said he did not dare to stop the animals as there were too many and he could become aggressive. He said it would be impossible to stop all of them and dangerous too. One monkey is enough to harm people if it wants to. Imagine having to stop more than 100 hungry monkeys. So we just let them eat the crops. As the farm is close to the national park, other animals such as elephants, cattle and bulls have raided the area before to search for food. The monkey gang emerged from the Khao Phang Ma Non hunting area and Khao Yai National Park where they lived. Recorded from inside the car, the footage showed the driver slowly creeping up the dusty road as monkeys ran across in front of the vehicle. Panning to the right of the car, the person filming showed a number of other monkeys hiding among the foliage before chasing after the rest of the gang. They used to be fed with snacks from tourists, but due to the pandemic there were fewer visitors to give them food. Some of the animals have also taken over the road, appearing to move to the next place while carrying their babies when they have finished eating corn. The devastated farmers sought help from local government agencies so they can be compensated for the crops and prevent the incident from happening again. The first quarter of 2020 saw tourist arrivals in Thailand drop to 6.7 million people, down from 10.7 million from the first quarter of the previous year, as the coronavirus pandemic began to sweep the globe and limit the number of people traveling. So I'm going to skip this little part about these numbers, but in July last year it was reported that the city of Lopburi, around 30 miles west of the edge of Nakhon Ratchasima province had been overrun by makakis. That's another type of monkey, right? Makakis. A lack of tourists and a consistent source of food led to the monkeys becoming aggressive, with as many as 8,400 overrunning the city and forcing locals to avoid going outside where possible. Local vets were even forced to sterilize some of the monkeys to try and keep their numbers down, with police admitting they were powerless to do anything.
They also stole an ATM machine.
Oh my god. So they know you can do something with an ATM machine, but they don't really understand what. But they know it's important to other monkey type figures.
I don't know, man. I saw that and I was laughing. I remember that last year. They stole an ATM machine. I was just cracking up.
Did they do anything with it? The picture became
They pulled it out of the wall and just imagine how many it required.
Yeah, and everyone, just imagine everyone looking at them and no one knows what to do. That would be quite a scene.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, I think okay. So you posted an article about Harvard's top astronomer says our solar system may be teeming with alien life, right? I've read that before. So you have these.
No, alien tech, not alien life, alien technology.
Well, I don't know about that, but maybe. Let me see actually what he says then about that.
Remember, this is a top guy.
A.V. Loeb spent his career searching for evidence of alien life, and when he found it, the scientific community refused to believe him. I don't believe it. He have reasons not to admit it. Okay. Okay, so that's about that that comet or that meteorite, right? That Oumuamuas, and that has like strange properties, and it has like a new class of thin interstellar material.
Oumuamua, yeah.
Yeah, so it has like this new thin interstellar material, either produced naturally through a yet unknown process or of an artificial origin. And he says that the most rational, conservative explanation is that Oumuamua was produced by an alien civilization. Or maybe it is, because if you like know so much about nature and you identify all these different processes, then why would it be something like a completely unknown natural process, right? It would be more logical that someone has created it. I can get into that. Yeah. He says, and he says also, I left the room together with a colleague of mine who is a conservative mainstream astronomer, and he said this object is so weird, I wish it never existed.
That's a great quote.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So this showed an excess push away from. In addition to the sun's gravitational force acting on, this happens when comets, which can speed up as the frozen material on them vaporizes, causing them to swerve through space and producing a distinctive tail. Based on the change in its speed, Loeb says Oumuamua would have to lose about a tenth of its mass. That's quite a lot. We should have seen a very clear cloud of gas around it, but it had no tail. Okay, so it had no tail. A close observation saw nothing around it. It did not even radiate any heat and did not move erratically as comets do, but accelerated smoothly away from the sun. The most rational explanation for this, Loop says, is that it was pushed by sunlight itself. That's interesting and stuff. And that Mashenko, a computational astrophysicist at McMaster's University in Canada, suggests a 91% chance that it is disc-shaped. Okay.
Typical UFO.
Yeah, typical
Thingy.
UFO. Yeah, okay, must has to be a disc, right? Yeah. Okay, but these are legitimate scientists. I mean, yeah, obviously have some reason to say it.
Yeah, of course. We know it's just a shape that they mention.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's just like, yeah, you at some point you get scared to even talk about it. Because they won't take you seriously anymore. Like they will say like you're some kind of strange believer in ghosts.
Ghost.
Yeah, that's true, right? Yeah, like because you had like you know, in like the early 90s, you had these strange shows called like ghosts and UFOs and stuff. They were always about ghosts or UFOs. Like they push it in that box. Well, actually, it isn't supposed to be in that box at all. You're talking about legitimate technology that we know for sure exists somewhere in space, right?
Well, if anybody denies that the ghost exists, I can put them in a planetarium that I know for 100% fact that it's haunted because I was there and fucking creepy shit that I could not fucking explain ever. Like coldness on the back of your neck and like you would hear sounds in a cell and you know all that shit. Yeah, I could put you in the planetarium, but we're gonna have to jump a fence because it's illegal to be in there.
Yeah. Maserati says never go full reptilian. Yeah.
That was great. That was a wonderful comment. Whoever made that.
Muscle Ray. Credits to Muscle Ray. Anne says have done Russia, China. Yeah, we discussed yeah, the whole Russia protests. No,
Yeah, we
no,
discussed
Yeah.
Taiwan and Russia multiple times actually during this whole episode.
we are not simple-minded about it. It's not that we put them in the same sentence for fun. It's different subjects going on. Was it China and Taiwan situation and Russia situation with the opposition protests and also Larry King we discussed. So you see.
Yeah, but the way Mark worded it looks like it says Russia, China died along with Larry King. Oh man.
Did we discuss everything, by the way? And you, just ask your question because I think we're soon going off air, so you can still ask it.
Well, yeah, after this topic, I think we're done. So, apparently, the DOJ and the FBI are debating not charging some of the Capitol rioters, which is interesting.
Okay.
Some of them, how are they trying to pick out people?
Good question. They really did not say.
I think that's the most important part. Like, who are you not charging?
Yeah, it's just a thing that they are estimating that roughly 800 people surged the building, and they don't know whether they should charge everybody equally.
Right.
Doesn't make sense to me. I mean, like, it's just very odd.
Yeah, okay, so Anne says, I wish somehow we could hear the experience of people who are there, they could speak for themselves. Well, in the situation of what's going on in Asia and stuff, we do have people who know what they're talking about. But you're right, we actually need street protesters from Russia to join in our show. And we'll probably get them soon for you guys. I hope to get them for you tomorrow, otherwise the day after. We'll just ask for it and they will show up.
That could be too dangerous.
Did we cover everything now?
Let me see here.
It means the voices of those outside in the cold, their thoughts. Yeah, okay, but then we need people on the ground there, but it is very difficult. This is not an easy to reach situation at all. And what you get is from the press, who give their own reports, like you're saying, and the press is not really reliable to us. So we can get activists, we can get anons among these people, and they can do reports.
There's something interesting. Apparently, we have now created a robot brain chip. Oh, wonderful. Not like we're shifting into... what's a movie where there was a robot apocalypse? iRobot. That's a good one. Or The Terminator. Read that one, because that's a doozy.
Yeah, but that's also what Tesla said, right? That you can do that kind of stuff. But this is now Boston Dynamics, and that's for U.S. military, or works for U.S. military.
Yeah, they have contracts with the U.S. military, yes, but Boston Dynamics is an engineer in general, so they have contracts with the U.S. military, yes, but and grants, but it's also an engineering company, so it's not like Lockheed Martin. Like Lockheed Martin is only military based. Boston Dynamics isn't only military based.
Okay.
It's basically commercial robotics.
Yeah, just the wisest way to do it now these days. Commercial can get you can get a lot of public money into it. It's like the old East India Company. You have operations going on for the government, for them to do like more research and do more producing. You bring in public money, so you put them corporate. Makes it go faster, right? Increases your military budget hugely too. Hasa says, I heard Boston Dynamics was bought by Hyundai.
By who?
Hyundai, which is a car brand, I think. I'm correct.
Oh, Hyundai?
Yeah, Hyundai. Oh, in a 1.1 billion deal, Hyundai has purchased a controlling stake in robot maker Boston Dynamics from SoftBank.
Huh. Alright. Didn't know that.
South Korean is that they're the best in robots and in things. Like the Japanese too, they're the best.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. they've developed quite a lot of different artificial intelligence related stuff. See, the AI stuff doesn't really scare me as much as the robot stuff. And they are different. AI is like giving the robot a brain, right? The robot stuff is separate. It's more so just creating like a walkable technology, you know. But yeah, the AI is like giving it a brain essentially, and that's the scary. The scary part is when you put those two technologies together. That's when things can go bad.
Yeah.
AI can be good used for good or evil. That's the thing. It's artificial intelligence can be a very positive thing, or it can be a very, 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 very negative thing.
Definitely, yeah. We can read more up about AI stuff and cover this later on in a full episode.
It'll be a fun one.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually had that guy from the Pirate Party on. He's an AI programmer. Matthijs. He's done that for a very long time. You actually could bring him on and talk about that stuff too. Just completely unrelated to his political stuff.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
He would do it. I'll just DM him. Not saying I can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
as long as we didn't discuss anything that was like that he was working on, it was like under NDA or anything.
Yeah, true. I think he does work at like public university, but all our universities are like public, so I think that is not a big problem. NDAs. I have to check that out with him though. But not saying Netherlands is very advanced in like standalone AI, but obviously for like computers and like in the harbor works and things, they are pretty advanced. So, and in growing foods and these things. That might be completely different area of AI, but there's also AI there, and algorithms are even used in government AI programs. So yeah.
Right.
Okay, we've done almost 4 hours now, so we got it off.
Yeah, I think we're good. I don't have anything more to speak on. We covered everything I wanted to speak on in regards to Taiwan and China going on right now. I thought it was very important that we covered that ASAP because it kind of seems like things can get out of control.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think I have anything else. I'm looking here. I don't see anything, so.
No, we'll cover more later on. I don't know if we go on air tomorrow. I don't know. Let's see if we have time. But if you're listening, make sure to share it around. Just everywhere you can, because that's what we really depend on. We don't have like advertising budgets, and we deal with constant censorship. So yeah. We have to give the PSA, I guess, because Preston isn't here.
Oh yeah, that's true. Remember to spay and neuter all of your politicians and lobbyists.
Okay.